This time, please join us if you choose as Board Member Mary Trammell leads us in prayer and the pledge.
Will you please bow your head? This afternoon, our Heavenly Father, we thank you again for another opportunity to come plan for the policies and budget for the school district. Lord, we pray that you would bless our kids and children that will be leaving school for a summer vacation, Lord. We pray that it will be a safe summer and that all the employees will be taken care of. Build a hedge of protection around each one of them and their families. Lord, look on this board, the president, the superintendent, and all the board members. Help us to make the right decisions. In your name we pray and we ask it all and say amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Show the vote. Just a note, Ms. Green is on her way, and Ms. Armstrong is still dealing with issues at the hospital. And again, keep Ms. Crawford's family in prayer as she lost her mom. Okay, that brings us to the visitor section. The Cattle Prairie School Board welcomes your input and comments during the visitor section. When your name is called, step to the microphone and make your remarks to the entire board. Please limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes. If several visitors or registrants speak on the same issue, the board requests that the groups or individuals consolidate their comments or limit individual comments to 3 minutes. A time clock on the monitor screen will help you be aware of your time. So when the time runs out, your time is up. It is the board's policy not to respond individually to members of the audience. When appropriate, the board may refer concerns to the staff to be addressed. As this is a public meeting, we ask you to refrain from referring to personnel by name or incident. Thank you. And if I remind you to please turn off your electronic devices as I do mine, and we'll move on with the meeting. The first speaker for the visitor section is Jackie Lansdale. State your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Jackie Lansdale, I'm president of the Red River United, 1726 Line Avenue, Shreveport, Louisiana. I wanted to come and tell you that the legislative session will end June 6th. And during that process and that time, there are a lot of organizations that are working very diligently and hard, inclusive of your own, the Louisiana School Board Association, to try to recoup as many funds for the local districts as they possibly can. What we know is, right now, because MFP was rejected, that it's going to revert back to the 2011-2012 year. Now, 2011, for this local district, there was $201+ million budgeted. So if you go back and look at where you are today, you've got $198+ million. That's $3 million right there. That's not to talk about going back to last year and the monies you didn't get because of the unconstitutionality of the MFP. There will clearly be some more millions of dollars that you'll have to receive off last year's MFP. And that's not even including the voucher money that you will receive. And if I did a conservative guess of that, and I said $5,000 per pupil times 88, I'd come somewhere in the nature of $400 and something thousand that you're going to be getting here locally. Now, kind of like the game show host, or the commercial, there's more. Wait, there's more. And what I'm going to say about that, what do we have more? Your organization, the Louisiana School Board Association, again, used to be very proud of how they've stepped up this year. They are looking to try, because we've always had 2.75% growth monies. And we haven't seen those for the past 5 years. Well, Scott Richard is working tirelessly to try to get those $2.75 million, 2.75% back into your local coffers. Now, why am I telling you all this? We'll know these figures by June 6th. So we're talking about millions of dollars that will be coming back to Caddo. And we ought to be glad about that. This ought to be a celebratory moment for us. And instead of that, I think that we've kind of undercut all the goodwill and good wishes of all that by what we're doing here today. That could we have waited until we had seen all the funds before we made decisions, especially such draconian decisions, based on that? And could we have at least preserved the dignity and respect to allow them to do their work? Do you not think that looks bad for them? That here you are as a local board, what you're doing is making horrendous cuts instead of looking forward and looking to the future to a better time for public education and celebrating that. I wish you would do that. Now, speaking on the planning period issue, the way planning has always been in Caddo Parish, we've always had a policy for elementary teachers. And I'm going to guess, Representative Bell, that probably had something to do with the LAE years ago, whenever they wanted to make sure that elementary teachers had planning. And and we're unique in that, and policy-wise in Caddo Parish. It says 30 minutes per day or 150 per week. And it's been that way since the 70s. And so that's my best guess on that. And for teachers, middle school and high school teachers, there's never been anything in policy. Typically, we used to go back and we would build our case on that if there was ever an issue. In Caddo, it's never been an issue. Good sense has always prevailed here up until the last few minutes. We had SACS accreditation, and SACS accreditation said you had to have planning. But now SACS has changed some of their language. But we always knew we had a state law. He said, well, why didn't you use a state law? I didn't have to. We didn't have to. If anybody called the office and said to me, I'm not getting all my planning, my answer would be, did you get 45 minutes? If you got 45 minutes, you got your planning. And there's no argument there. So there was no reason to be using your money or our money to go to court. Now there's reason. So, if we want to tread there and we want to go past the statutory limits, which clearly say 45 minutes per day, are the cumulative effects of that per week, which would be 225 minutes, and you in any way infringe on that, we will go to court. That's just the way it's going to be, and it will have statewide implications in that. Now, I know that your attorney has said that he's heard that some man said that's not part of the funding. MFP is how you get your funds. It's fully funded. There is no other monies to come from the state. It is fully funded. So, in that context, you have received every dime you will ever get from the state. So, it is funded. There's no other line item that will look at this. And that's where our argument would be. And the last thing I would say to those folks that are out here that would argue against that, we never stand up for individual people. We stand up for the rights, the laws, the rules, the policies that we know that will protect you. And you do not have a right to give them away or to take them. Thank you.
Heather Middlebrooks, please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Heather Middlebrooks, 607 Manassas Circle, Bossier City, Louisiana, 71112. Can you hear me now? I'm a secondary social studies teacher at Woodlawn. I'm dual certified in social studies and English, and this is my first year teaching. I want to clarify what seem to be some injudicious assumptions about my job. First and foremost, I'm a military wife, a mother of a 2-year-old, and a teacher in that order. I wake up most days at 6, usually arrive at school around 7:40 for tutoring and duty. I don't usually get home until around 5:30 by the time I have another round of tutoring, which is critical to Woodlawn. My afternoon, I play with trucks and dirt and watch bubble guppies and dinner and bath and breathing treatments and Go Dog Go, Cat in the Hat, Goodnight Moon, also in that order. Usually kiss my son goodnight by 8:30. My husband, again, is in the Air Force, and sometimes he's home and sometimes he's not. And for the record, he's scheduled to be deployed 6 months out of the next school year. For the 31 months my son has been alive, he's been gone for 14 and home for 17. I want to share with you a poem that a student gave to me yesterday because he could tell I was a little stressed out after I left the meeting on Tuesday. It says, Miss Middlebrooks, to the most wonderful teacher in the world, for the most
Mr. Ramsey, will you let her come sit down and then come back when she can compose herself?
All right, Jackie, thank you. For the most wonderful teacher who always cared, you're the most incredible teacher of all time, the greatest teacher with an intelligent mind. Your style is better than all kind. I'm lucky to say this teacher is mine. I love you, Miss Middlebrooks. You're the greatest teacher I've ever had. As much as that means to me, it doesn't trump my son or my husband. And I sent y'all an email yesterday with some facts about the current class sizes at Woodlawn. English 2 is 23-1, English 3 is 30-1, Geometry is 20-1, Biology is 25-1, U.S. History is 27-1, and I was unable to speak with the teacher about Algebra 1, but those are your EOC testing areas. And as you can tell, that number is significantly higher than 14-1. I also reminded you all that Woodlawn is a TAP school, which means that one of our planning periods a week goes to cluster, which means that in my 3 prep schedule, I currently teach psychology, sociology, and American history. I would be teaching 540 minutes of new instruction with only 90 minutes of planning time, or 810 minutes of new instruction with 180 minutes of planning time. Mr. President, may I have an extension?
Please continue until you feel like you're done.
Thank you. With the modified block, I would be grading around 164 assignments, and if we say the easiest work, which is a worksheet to grade, if I took 45 seconds per worksheet to grade and enter those in the computer just one time per week, that's 123 minutes. To write new assessments for 6 to 9 class periods, let's say it takes me 3 minutes to write and print a worksheet. Multiply that times 6 new classes, and that's another 18 minutes. If I were to make copy at 2 seconds per sheet, that would be 6 minutes. To create 6 to 9 new note presentations, if it took me 10 minutes per class, it would be 60 minutes. Setting up the laptop projector speakers, 2 minutes. To write the agenda objectives on the board at 1 minute each would be 3 minutes. 3 minutes to fill out my lesson plan forms per class, that's 18 minutes a week. Check my email, 2 minutes. Call a parent if they're nice to me, 2 minutes. Fill out 2 to 3 behavior intervention forms per week, 2 minutes each, minimum of 4. Talk to another teacher for sanity and lesson planning, about 5 minutes. Again, I'm a first-time teacher, so I spend a lot of time talking to other teachers. At my most optimistic guesstimate, that's 238 minutes, or just shy of 4 hours of tasks, if I'm only spending 10 minutes writing my new presentations without pictures or videos or anything to gather their attention. At best, according to the modified block, I would only have 3 hours for those tasks. If you notice, I didn't include anything about actual planning. This is just the tasks that go with the planning. I'm an hour shy just for the Gopher tasks. What happens to the time that it takes me to dig into the curriculum? It's being postured that I may be moved to English 3 next year because I scored very well on my Praxis 2, and our scores were not very high there. So how do I get familiar with the Common Core or read a novel so I can talk about it with my students, or in American history, read the textbook? This schedule has the potential to make me a bad teacher. More likely, it would take over the rest of my life, and I can't let that happen. I'm young, I'm energetic, passionate, I'm dual certified, 18 hours into my master's degree. I love to teach, and this is driving me away.
Okay, that's probably a good time to stop. Thank you very much for coming. Bert Allgood. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Bert Allgood. I live at 735 Monrovia, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106. I want to talk about the modified block schedule. I want to tell you what I'm going to have to give up. Okay, what's not going to happen if we do this. I'm not going to be able to tutor before school. I'm not going to tutor after school. I'm not going to tutor during my planning period, which happens often. I'm not going to tutor during class. I actually have students come to me during class time, and I help them too. Okay, that's not going to happen anymore. I also do a after-school ACT program where I stay after school till 5:30 for a week before the ACT. That's not going to happen anymore. I used to spend Saturday mornings for about 2 months at school tutoring for ACT. That's not going to happen anymore. Homework assignments. I'm going to give them, but I'm not going to grade them. I don't have time to grade homework assignments. If I don't grade them, do you think the students are going to do them? Okay? Don't know. My test. That's going to be the main measure of my students because that's all I have time for. They're going to be multiple choice. I'm not going to have a chance to look to see what they actually know. I'm just going to look to see if they colored in the correct letter. So I won't know how well they learn the material. No partial credit. I teach math, no partial credit. That's going to take a major hit. They're not going to do as well. Next thing I want to talk about is the schedule again. And here's what I want to know. I haven't heard anybody ask this or bring it up, but I want to know what schedule is the best for the students. Does anybody know that? Have we ever figured that out? We've changed the schedule 3 times the last 3 years. We went from 6 periods to AB block where we alternated AB Mondays, and now we're alternating every other day. Which schedule is best? Does anybody know? And why don't we do that? Is that hard? Shouldn't we spend our money there for the students? Isn't that where the money should go if we want the best students in the world? Shouldn't the money go there? Or do we want the best staff here in this building? Do we want the best teachers? Put it there. Or do we want the best students? Do that. That's all I want. Okay? Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Williams. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ryan Williams, 519 Kirby Place, Shreveport, 71104. Good afternoon. First of all, planning is not a perk. Please don't tell me that going to the bathroom or counseling a child is a perk. Planning time is extremely important to all teachers. In addition to the litany of things you have been made aware of that teachers do, we also do things like proctor end-of-course tests and watch ISS during our planning periods. Because I'm the director of the drama program at my school, I also use my planning time to pick up and take packages to UPS, sew costumes, go to Lowe's to buy building materials, pick up wigs, get checks cashed for box office, pick up rented lights, light boards, light trees, microphones since the equipment we have is outdated and doesn't work. I get to school each morning to work. And for 7.5 months out of our 9.5-month school year, I come back to school between 5 and 5:30 for an additional 3 or 4 hours of a night of rehearsal. I give up most Saturdays to come up to school and build sets with students. This means an additional 300 to 400 student contact hours per year. I choose to put these hours in because it's the right thing to do. Isn't our motto creating world-class schools for world-class students? I do this because I want to create world-class students. But more than likely it won't be happening anymore. At least not as much as it has been. There aren't enough hours in the day as it is for what I do, and you're trying to get rid of some of that time. I know you have to find a way to cut $21 million from the budget. I get it. And I know that cuts are going to have to be made now because you have yet to present any sort of a long-range money-saving plan. I know cutting jobs isn't easy. I know you don't like to do it. But it's the easiest thing for you to do because it cuts the largest amount of money the fastest. It might make this pill a little easier to swallow if there was any sort of light at the end of the tunnel. What is your long-range money-saving plan so we won't be back here again next year? So we might get our planning periods back. So we don't end up with 36 students in our classes. You ask teachers and staff this question. Well, make each department cut X% from its own annual budget. Assess, reassess, and reassess. Work smart, not hard. If buses are on the road every morning and every afternoon and they're only half full, why is that? Don't think that happens? It does. Look at benefits. Let me give you an example. John has taught in Bossier for 22 years. He transfers to Caddo Parish and teaches for the next 3. He retires at 25 years. Caddo has to pay for his retirement benefits after only working in Caddo for 3 years. If you take that example and reverse it, John would have to teach in Bossier for 10 years. Is that a waste of Caddo's money? So what are you going to do? Teachers are overworked, underpaid, and horribly underappreciated. It's time for this board to start making wise, proactive decisions. Stop being reactive. If your reactive decision making continues, you know as well as I do, we will be back here next year and the following year and the following year and the following year. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. John Glover. Please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Good evening, John Glover, 8100 Pines Road, apartment 3H, 71129. I implore each of you to not enter into this process of adopting this budget based on the fact that there are fewer persons in attendance here today. Primarily because this is the last day of the school. It would prove that because of this, many of those who would be in attendance may be undertaking the end of the year clearance. With this in mind, please make every effort to appreciate the comments of the speakers on Tuesday as well as today. Weigh every issue and ensure that the budget you put in place will mirror supporting educating every child in Caddo Parish adequately. Thank you.
Thank you. Cleve, Arkansas. Please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Cleve, Arkansas, 2548 Jones Mabry, Shreveport, Louisiana. Good evening. Here we go again. You know, today was supposed to be a great day in my life. You know, the end of school, I worked hard for it, thinking that I'll get a chance to exhale. And lo and behold, here we go again, you know, with a sneak attack. You know, we're talking about doing away with my planning period. And as I said before, rights, respect, and responsibilities. You know, I feel that I'm being treated, you know, like guys in third world countries. I'm in a sweatshop now. You know, doesn't do any good, you know, to complain. You know, you're being beat down constantly. No matter how much you produce, you got to produce more. You know, and there comes a time when you have to stop and say enough is enough. If you're going to take away my time to plan and be efficient, then don't expect the best of me. You know, we keep talking about the kids. You know, that's at my heart right there, the kids. And how can I be the best that I can be if I can't plan for it? I've heard several speakers allude to the fact that I'm not going to do it at home. I've done it long enough It seems like the more I do, the more you want me to do. You know, I don't have time during the run of a day to take care of my kids, and they're letting me know it. My kids love my class, and they want to work, but I can't get to them because I'm bogged down with paperwork. And I heard a number of speakers talk about the amount of time that we do spend doing paperwork. And now we don't have time to do the paperwork. It's cutting into a quality education for our kids. And if I was the parents, I would be very mad, because my child's teacher don't have time to talk to me. Catch me on my off day, maybe, because I got these other meetings that I have to attend. I got this other pressing work that I have to do. And we keep talking about children's first. I think we should start looking at the budget, realizing what we are doing to the children. These kids are very precious to me, and I need all the time that I can with them, especially the time that's planning for them. And if you keep going down the road that you're going, you're playing right into the hands of Bobby Jindal and John White. You're creating charter schools. You're creating private schools, because public schools will cease to exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa, Arkansas. Please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Teresa, Arkansas, 2548 Jones Mabry, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71107. I'm reading this for a co-worker who asked me to read it. And she starts by saying, when I was first in college, I decided to become a teacher. I did not do this for summers off or for the great pay. I decided to do this because I realized that the best way to work with my subject area would be to teach and teach to another person. The reason I chose high school is because if I am going to teach what I love, I want to teach it to young minds that I can help shape for the better world. Let me explain how your threats of cutting or planning periods, laying off personnel, and increasing class sizes are received from a second-year teacher, and his teacher's just 2 years into the profession. This talented workforce on which you depend, yet you treat this way, will not exist for long. I listen to my generation and hear what they say. Those who have their profession based solely on the fact that they can no longer bear being treated this way will not be replaced by young, bright, enthusiastic teachers. My first and only 2 years of teaching has been marred by negative atmospheres that has been created by fear and feeling that no one cares about you. No one will help you. From Baton Rouge to Midway, they want to take away what little you have and make you thankful for what's left through fear of losing your job. I have been told on numerous occasions by teachers in many different schools the same line: get out now while you're young. If not, bless your soul. Like I said, teachers will not be replaced by people like me who want to teach and make a difference. Your workforce will be occupied by people who just want a job for summer off and paychecks. Louisiana is always going to lose bright young minds that would have originally entered in the teaching profession. Because of that, Louisiana has already lost millions of young minds that will not enter into the profession because of Baton Rouge overrush and underplanned education overhaul. Do not make it worse in Cattle by subjecting teachers to teach to every misery. Thank you.
Thank you. Summer Bolali. Please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
My name is Summer Lawley, 1726 Line Avenue, 71101. I'm reading this letter written by a 4th grade teacher, and it's about class sizes. Dear Cattle Parish School Board, as a 4th grade teacher in the Cattle Parish School District, I'm deeply concerned with the new ratio of class size. Though one student increase may not seem much to you, it means a great deal to me. This one student increase can affect my ability to effectively teach my struggling learners. Most fourth grade classrooms consist of students who are well below benchmark. Fourth grade and eighth grade teachers are forced to have their feet to the fire as our state scores affect the school score greatly. Being evaluated on my ability to effectively reach all students can be difficult if my classroom size is not accommodating. Adding one child could cause students who are in great need of mediation due to strategic or intensive status the inability to gain all they can from the learning environment. Small groups are important to remediation, and with classrooms being overcrowded, small groups are now large groups. Small group teaching should include 4 to 5 students in order for students to maximize their learning. In most fourth grade classrooms, we already have 26 to 30 students with limited space to rotate. As a teacher, I found that it is necessary for me to rotate to each group as to keep chaos at a minimum. Even this is posing an issue because I am unable to group students according to their learning levels. Students are supposed to be integrated with others even if they are deficient. Are we really prioritizing student education by overcrowding classrooms? I think not. An overcrowded classroom also leads to extreme discipline problems because referrals diminish the school score. Administration is not placing the referrals in the system that are needed, deleting referrals, placing students in ISS without notification of the teacher or the parent, and allowing disrupting students to continue with no reprimand. This gives students who are repeat offenders the ability to disrupt class and continue with to go unscathed. They no longer fear any consequence as administrators are more concerned with school scores than the learning environment that presents inconsistency among student discipline. I am often accused of having a lack of classroom management, though I've often reported the same students to the office. Due to there being no evidence of a referral, the students have realized that they cannot commit a school offense or not worry about having to accept the consequence. Instead, the consequence having been placed on me, the teacher. We are starting to not trust the decisions of our administrations, for we are taking the brunt of the blame. Sincerely, a fourth grade teacher.
Thank you. Frederick Howard. State your name and address for the record. Thank you.
My name is Frederick Wayne Howard, Keyville, Louisiana, 12512 Johns Ginn Road. That's all the way close to Texas. Planning. I come to speak to you all about planning this evening. We have a lot of problems. You have teachers that are co-teachers. We need time where the teachers can get together and work together and come out with an effective plan. Whereas we could work in the classroom together where we have most of our special needs students in those classes. As a special ed teacher, we must cover the paperwork as far as having 12 to 15 special ed students on your caseload. Not all of those students are in that one particular class, but when they need help in other classes, some of us have to go out we have to pull those students out of those classes and give them that extra help that they need. Now I'm looking around this board. Some of you I don't know the backgrounds of, but most of you I do. You spent time in the classroom. You know good and well you have to have time to plan. And if you all had to do the paperwork that's coming at us right now, you know one day of planning every other day? No, not gonna happen. If you all are familiar with the behavior intervention plan, you know that this amount of paperwork alone demands daily progress reports. It demands that you speak to teachers on a daily basis. And I'm not talking just about the teacher you're working with. What about the other 7 teachers that these kids go to? A student wouldn't be having a problem in teacher A class, but would be having a problem in teacher B class. That means that I have to take my planning period, when I'm supposed to be with the co-teacher I'm working with, and go speak to teacher B to find out what's going on there. Apparently the board has forgotten, a lot of the members have forgotten exactly what takes place in the classroom, what takes place in the school. Then we have the correction action plan, the Caddo correction action plan, the CAP. Folks, this as well has a lot of paperwork. Paperwork that cannot be done in just one planning period. That if we don't keep up on it, we get written up. As I stated, there are a lot of things that goes on in the classroom that I think that some of you may have forgotten about. I'm sorry. All this came along after you all left the classroom. Such as Ames Web. I don't know if you all know about Ames Web testing. We have to pull these students every 2 weeks to test these kids. I don't know if you know about the collaboration logs that we must keep on these kids. That is too much paperwork to be doing. And one planning every other day? No. A lot of days we're after school trying to catch up with these teachers. Before school, right now, we're trying to catch up with these teachers so we won't run behind. Or try not to run behind anyway. But in leaving this podium, I want you to understand something. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon Sullivan. Shannon Sullivan. Please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon Sullivan, 1726 Line Avenue, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. I find it unfortunate, but I had been handed this letter from a teacher that, well, you'll see for many reasons, could not be here today. Dear school board members, I write this letter with the utmost hope that you will listen to my concerns. I know that my concerns are shared by most in my school and from what I hear across the district. I wish I were present to read this statement myself, but to put it bluntly, I fear retaliation from my principal. Yesterday I caught word that the teachers at Southwood supported the elimination of a planning period. I was told that the scheduling formula generated by my principal is now being used as a template for all schools in Caddo Parish. I cannot state this strongly enough. Teachers do not support this proposal. It is preposterous to think that eliminating a planning period would help either teachers or students. Any claims to the contrary reflect a misunderstanding, no, an ignorance of what it takes to educate our youth. The sad, hard truth is that our jobs were threatened. The teachers at Southwood were told that the elimination of planning periods were to be supported. You can see why I am reticent to read this statement to you myself. Please realize that you are being sold a faulty bill of goods. If you were to survey teachers, no one would support this proposal. No one. Sincerely, a highly effective teacher. Thank you.
Latasha Washington. Please state your name and address for the record.
Latasha Washington, 1726 Line Avenue, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. I come to you today as a parent. I have 2 students in Caddo Parish Public Schools. They do very well. My daughter makes straight A's. She's on the principal's list. She got all her awards. My son, when he received his ILEAP test, he called me and he said, "Mom, I'm upset because the kids are making fun of me because I got the highest scores out of everybody." And I said, "Well, that's okay." But he was like, "But I got a 500 in math. That's perfect." And I said, "Okay, well, that's something to celebrate." So I'm saying that to say, when you look at staffing formulas, you have to think about the children. My children are receiving an excellent education in Caddo. They have great teachers, but those teachers need time. And as a parent who's married, 2 incomes, if the student-to-teacher ratio gets too high, we may have to consider putting my kids in a school where they wouldn't have to have so many kids in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that completes the visitor section. Dr. Dawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey, members of the board. First of all, we've had a safe day today, last day of school. I'm happy to report that all kids seem to be home. I haven't had any reports. All staff members are at home as well, safely, I think. So I'm glad to report that to you. Second of all, I want to share some information with you on the proposed staffing prior to you having the discussion. We have Mrs. Kathy Gallant to maybe clarify some issues for you so that you will know what we're talking about, and the components of the various configurations. And we have a couple of principals here, Mr. Alexander, Mr. Roberts, Green Oaks, and Southwood, if you have any questions at all.
Good afternoon, Board. We'd like to have you look at the document that's on your screen. What we've done is taken the item that was on Board Docs and put it into I think, an easier to read format so that you can see the difference between the different schedules that have been talked about over your last few meetings. For the high school, right now we offer what is called the AB block. If we were to stick with that as it is, there would be no positions reduced. Teachers teach 6 of 8 classes. The cost savings to the district, of course, would be nothing. The planning periods are 90 minutes per day for each high school teacher and a 30-minute lunch. If we went to the modified block system, the positions reduced would be 69. Teachers would teach 7 of 8 classes at a cost savings of $4.8 million. Teachers would have 90 minutes every other day of planning and a 30-minute lunch. If we went to a 7-period day with a 23-to-1 staffing, the positions reduced would be 83. Teachers would teach 6 of 7 classes for a $5.8 million cost savings. They would receive 45 minutes per day planning period and a 30-minute lunch. For the elementary, as has been stated before, if we round K1, there are 29 positions that will be reduced for a cost savings of $2 million. If we leave 4th through 5th grade staffed at 25-to-1, there will be no cost savings. If we go at 26-to-1, that would reduce 9 positions for a total of $0.6 million in savings.
And in addition to that, Mr. Ramsey, we plan to accomplish that without any layoffs. And secondly, Ms. Gallen is continuing to work on those days that the 90 minutes planning is not available, to look at ways we can make that possible for people. And if there's a policy change we need to work with, then we'll work with whoever we need to work with to make that happen as well.
Could you repeat that, please?
I'm saying if they're on the days when there are when it's not 90 minutes, we're still looking at ways to try to find some additional time, and we don't know what those minutes are. We're still calculating those. And if there are ways to do that, we'll make that happen and make it part of a policy statement. Because, as Ms. Lansdale correctly stated, we don't have a policy on high school planning time. We'll take your questions.
Okay. Board members, we'll do the questions and give everybody about, let's say, 3 minutes. And we'll start over here with Mr. Ryle. With a motion, when we make the motion.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Ryle.
Thank you, President Ramsey. Are we going to vote on this today?
Point of order.
We did.
Yeah.
We need to have a
This
motion.
is question time. If you have any additional questions from...
Don't we need to have a motion before we can discuss it?
This was a presentation.
Okay.
And if you have any questions about the presentation.
Oh, okay, okay.
And at this time.
Okay, I have a couple.
Okay.
Now, this presentation, this is something that we will be voting on today.
You will be voting on the staffing formula today.
Okay, here's the thing I've got a question about. North Caddo High School currently has 22 regular ed teachers. They are already told they're supposed to lose 11 of those. And we hadn't voted on the staffing formula or done anything. But they were told they need to cut 11 regular ed teachers. Now, I want to know how they're going to teach 4 major classes, English, social studies, math, and science, to 4 different grades with 12 teachers.
I have a point of order at this point in time. It's no disrespect to you, Mr. Riles. Are we going to get right into We
Yeah, we-
have no motion at this point in time.
If there's and he is correct, if you have this will be part of the argument time.
Okay, that
If you
was when
have questions specifically about this presentation,
Okay, so the questions I just proposed, when we make the motion and get that point, then I can bring those back?
right,
Okay, well, I'll adhere to that, okay.
okay, Ms. Jasmine, Ms. Green, the last name left.
Okay, that's fine. I was just coming in, as you were explaining. Could you go over that one more time for me? About the modified block and the planning periods for the teachers?
On the modified block, they would receive 90 minutes every other day.
Okay, so, no breaks in between, on the day that they don't get a,
Well, they get their 30-minute lunch, and then there are breaks between classes for the student exchange.
okay? In the AB block, excuse me. On the AB block, how many, how long do they get?
On the block that they're doing now for the last 2
90
years,
minutes.
yes, ma'am, they've gotten 90 minutes every day.
So I'm looking at 90 minutes every day versus 90 minutes every other day.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Crawler.
Thank you, Ms. Gallant. Thank you, Ms. Gallant. I think you've done a pretty good job of explaining this to me. Now, why are we considering the modified block schedule?
For the saving the budget, the money.
Okay, that's my only question. Thank you.
Mr. Hooks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was looking, I heard Dr. Dawkins say that we're not looking at any layoffs. Did you not say that?
That's correct.
Okay. Where it says position reduced for block, AB block, 0 position, won't have to worry about it. Modified block, 69, 83. I'm sorry, 7 period day, 83. And then it says classes taught for AB block 6, and classes taught for modified block 7, and classes taught for 7 period day 6. And I'm looking at 7 period day. That's 23 students to 1 teacher. Am I correct?
That's how it's staffed, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, my question is, where would we save the most? Is looking at this chart here, where would we save the most? Now that's why we're here, because of the budget. Looking at what's up on the screen, where would we save the most?
It would be under the 7 period day.
Can't hear you.
It'd be under the 7 period day.
It would be under the 7 period, exactly. All right. That way, teachers will get a planning period each day for 45 minutes. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why are we kicking the can down the road when we can save $5.8 million and the teachers get their planning period?
Dr. Dawkins.
Well, the first answer is that more people will be affected in the layoff. We would lay more people off. We're not layoff, more people who are displaced.
They won't be, they'll probably have to leave their schools. I don't see a layoff. They'll probably have to leave their schools and go to another school. Be straight up with them now. Because you're trying to frighten them with the word layoff.
I'm not trying to frighten anybody.
Well, that's what you're doing.
More people will be displaced.
What, say it like that.
More people will be displaced.
Thank you.
Ms. Trammell.
Mr. President, I'm trying to understand the actual minutes involved. We're gonna do, when you say every other day, is that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday?
We're on a rolling block, and
A
that
rolling
means
block.
that if you have an A day on Monday, right now, it'd be A, and then B Tuesday, A Wednesday, B Thursday, A Friday. So the next Monday would be a B day, because it just, whatever comes next comes to the next day. So on 1 week, the teachers would get three planning periods, and one they would get 2.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pearson.
Under the 7-period day, how many classes would students be able to take that in addition to, I think was probably the reason, one of the reasons we went to block scheduling, so that there would be an opportunity for students to pick up additional courses. So if we go to the 7-period day, in addition to displacing 83 positions and having 6 periods taught, then how many extra classes would it be possible for students to pick up? Because in addition, in retrospect, this is all about children, you know, not so much about people, about teachers, but it's about what's best for children. So can you answer that for me?
Yes, sir. Right now, students have to gain 24 credits to graduate. And under the modified block, they would get to take 8 credits a year for a total of 32 credits. Under the 7-period day, they would get to take 7 credits a year for 28 credits. So that would give them 4 extra credits on the 7-period day.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Priest. Mr. Rochelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. The part of the presentation, Dr. Dawkins mentioned that they were looking at doing something on these other days that they don't have a planning period. I'm going to ask this question. If you don't think it's the right time, you say so. Is what is expected during a planning period? Okay, would that be part of the once the motion's made? I can wait on that.
What do they do during the planning?
Planning seems very generic and kind of whole encompassing. Okay, I'll come back to that one. That's fine. I'll come back to that. What do you have in mind? What has been suggested? What are the ideas on the table on how to try to do something on these days that they're not going to have the time designated?
Yeah, as Ms. Gallen said, it's a rolling block, and what we're trying to do is figure out how to carve some time out of the days that you don't get the 90 minutes. And we don't have a conclusive number for that, but that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, and what are the ideas or suggestions being put on right now for that?
Well, first of all, we got to carve the time out, and that's the hardest thing. And so we're still working on that.
Okay, I understand carving the time, but it would be, what are the ideas? Obviously, somebody has a thought.
Well, there's a thought. There's a thought that the first thought is you can't get 90 minutes.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm just getting some.
So whatever we can get is what we're looking at. So as we count the minutes, and where we can find some time, people need time to do a few things, and so if we can find 15, 20, 30 minutes, that would be ideal. But we'll work with teachers and administrators to make it happen.
Okay, so are there any, I know y'all are, if it's been brought up, there must have been something put on the table on what kind of ideas are being thought of to do it.
There are some that we've looked online to see what else is being done in other districts. And some of them have created some instructional time periods that aren't for credit on the high school level, where the students would be able to do club meetings, RTI, test makeup. I haven't seen that working in reality, so I would have to talk with the people from those districts to determine how that would work.
Okay, so there's one, there's the answer, we're getting somewhere now. There's one of the ideas. What other ideas have been put on the table?
That's the only one that I've seen so far that's got something online. That's where we were looking.
Okay.
But we are still looking, and we are still trying to find answers.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Ms. Bell.
Okay, I have some questions. Number one, and I've never heard the word about layoff, so we said that from day one, no one will be laid off. Only thing, so if I'm correct, they'll be placed at other places. Okay, all right, that's what's been said from day one. I'm looking at, okay, the modified block. Okay, before at block, AB block, they've had 90 minutes per day off, every day, plus 30 minutes for lunch, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's 120 minutes. Baby, I'm glad I'm not teaching, I'll be fussing right now, 30 minutes we had in middle school. Can I talk to two of the principals, please, Mr.? Sometimes we need to talk to the people. And I think Mr. Roberts and Mr. Alexander. Can I talk to them? Ask them a question, please, sir.
Come on up, Cass.
I'm going to have a point of order here, too. This is the presentation we're asking questions on.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Okay, well, this is not...
I'm waiting on the question.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
You asked Ms. Gallup a question, Mr. Barron. That's follow the rules, that'd be right.
I understand.
Okay, and I asked anybody, okay?
Board president stands for it.
Okay, I'm through with it. Okay, now, Mr. Roberts, modified block, 90 minutes every other day. You will do, and plus the 30 minutes, they get 120. That's every
Excuse me,
other
Mr.
day.
President, can this be done? I just conferred with the
The
president.
question is related to the presentation, the modified block, 90 minutes every other day, as I understand it.
I'm asking,
Okay, why is she asking those two? We got some more principals out there.
But I can ask anybody I want, Mr. Hooks. Anybody I want, I can ask.
I understand that, Ms. Bill.
Hold on.
I understand that, but we have other principals out there.
Mr. Hooks. Ms. Bell has the floor.
Thank you. I can ask any, what other principal?
Oh, wait a minute, Ms. Bell, hold on, Dr.
Carl.
This is a team that I brought to answer questions. Ms. Gallup, Mr. Roberts,
They're
Mr. Alexander. This
going to answer what you want them to say.
is the team I brought. It's the team I brought.
Ms. Bell.
Okay, can I please ask my question? If we go modified block, Mr. Roberts and Mr. Alexander, and there's 30 minutes only for lunch on that opposite day, but not the 90 minutes, okay? What can we do when you have teachers that need to run to the bathroom, whatever? What or would you plan to do if we do that? To give them a little more time, what would you do, Mr. Roberts?
We could look at the required number of seat minutes in a year, multiply the 90 minutes that we're in a class by the 90 days on an AB schedule to see what those numbers are. I believe it comes out to be about 8,100 minutes of seat time per class. I believe that exceeds the seat time minutes required by the state, which is also on the proposal to be done away with as far as seat time requirement within the state of Louisiana. So therefore, there would be some leeway to carve out some time within that off day for them to have extra time to do those very things.
And so what you're saying, question, that you will get together, you can get together with your team and you will find some time or work something creative out on those days other than the 30 minutes for lunch, right? That's what you're trying to say?
That's what was proposed today.
Okay.
That has not been posed to us until today.
Okay. Mr. Alexander, Mr. Robert has a large number of students and teachers. Yours is a little smaller. Okay. Can you do that, the same thing that you work with? What would you do
Well,
on that opposite day?
I think what we have to look at,
And I want to answer Mr. Cook's question about the 7-period day. We don't have a problem with the 7-period day, but take into consideration that you got 5 high school 7-12. When you're talking about those 7-12 going 7-period day, you're talking about the bell ringing 14 times a day. That's a lot of time during instruction time. And I think we have to take that into consideration. We're just looking at the average high school, which is 9-12. Let's not forget the 5 high schools that's 7-12, that have the middle school babies on campus. Now, when you're talking about going a 7-period day and you got 2 different bell times, and you got 14 bells ringing during that time, that's a lot of movement. That's a lot of movement. And we have to take that into consideration. What we basically came up with when we looked at this proposed block schedule, we wanted to cut as few staff people as possible. Our thing is that we want to keep as many people as we can in the building. The bottom line is this: Carroll Parish is celebrating the highest graduation rate because of one reason: block schedule. You can say whatever you want to say. The bottom line is because of block schedule. That's why Carroll Parish is celebrating the highest graduation rate that they ever had in their history. Because our kids get more opportunity. Our kids cannot afford to go to summer school and pay $300 for a credit. But they can fail the credit and they can go back and get it. So we have to take that into consideration. But, you know, so we can come up here and we can have different plans. First of all, we fire teachers. We have teachers out here. We know they need a planning period. We fire teachers. We hope everything can stay the same. But we realize the big elephant in the room. Something has to be cut. Something has to be cut. We realize that. And our thing is this right here. They looked at going to block schedule before it came block schedule, just a regular 7-period day. Regular 7-period day, we're going to lose between 83 and 120 teachers. People, that's a lot of folks. That's a lot of folks. Our thing were, let's soften the blow. Let's soften the blow for our teachers. And that's the way we look at it. But I want us to take into consideration, because a lot of times we forget about those 5 schools that's 7-12. When you're talking about going to 7-period day, and you got a middle school that start at 7:30 and go to 2:30, and then you got a high school that start at 8:30 and go to 3:30. That's a lot of change. That's a lot of change. So take that into consideration when you're talking about going for a 7-period day.
Ms. Bell, I'd also remind you that in our school performance scores, our graduation cohort is 25%, as well as our graduation index rate is another 25%. If we go to a 7-period day, we are cutting our legs out from under us on that graduation rate and preserving our cohort rate, where students are now able to receive 32 credits, as Mr. Alexander said, able to go back and make up credits. Another point that I think we should look at is if teachers are planning every day, 90 minutes every day. If we move to a 7-period day, it's 45 minutes per day on planning. Well, if I divide 90 in half, it's 45. That's 6 one way, half a dozen the other by my math.
No.
You know, and if you look at it, teachers, and I think my teachers, my staff that has supported this, because this was a proposal to them, not a mandate to them. I have staff here that I don't believe heard the threat.
Okay.
However, when teachers have
Okay, we need to,
blocked,
we're
they teach
going
one.
to stop this line of questioning, and we're going to move on to the next presentation.
Mr. Ramsey, could I make one last comment?
Okay.
On an A-B schedule, we teach periods 1 through 4 on an A day, 5 through 8 on the B. It's the same classes that we teach on an A followed by a B. So why would I need a planning period every day to teach the same thing back-to-back days?
Don't teach the same thing.
Okay.
Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing? I want to apologize. But the reason I called them because I knew he had 7 through 12 and he had 9, the high school. That's the reason I called, and I know what I was talking about, Mr. Hood. Thank you.
We know why you called.
Yeah. Teach 4 courses too, not just one.
Point of order, Mr. President.
We're done with this discussion.
No, we're not.
Mr. Abrams?
No, point of order. Point of order.
What's your point of order?
I don't understand. Dr. Dawkins said, he said this, this was He said that these are the principals who he brought down to answer questions.
That was part of the presentation, okay?
They were part of the why weren't the other people involved in it? You got other principals too. That had.
Look, there is no point of order denied. Mr. Abrams.
Well, I got my point over.
Yeah, you did. Mr. Abrams.
Board members, so that everyone's clear on what we're voting on the planning period. Question has come up as to whether or not it is mandated by state law or not. And of course, I know some people say that it is, and the statute says at the very beginning, the provisions of this subsection shall be subject to the availability of state funds for this purpose. And Bulletin 741, Section 911 says, subject to availability of state funds for this purpose, the LEA shall provide a minimum of 45 minutes daily planning time or its weekly equivalent, and a minimum of 30 minutes for lunch each day. Of course, the comment's been made that that's a part of the MFP, and therefore you're fully funded for that. I contacted the State Department today. Also contacted the previous general counsel regarding planning times to see what he recalled about any discussions when this first came out. Initially, this statute was enacted in 1988, and it may explain some of the differences. Back in 1988, the elementary school, and it may have been the LEA, came up with the 30 minutes of planning time for elementary schools. And then 30 minutes for lunch. And that was approved, and obviously Caddo Parish passed that policy. And in 1999, the statute was amended to provide for planning time for after the school year 2000-2001, but it was only if there was availability of state funds for this purpose. Recognize that already MFP had been decades old, so it had already been done. When I contacted the State Department today, the attorney for the State Department, before I could even get the question out, said it's not mandated by the state because they didn't consider that it had been funded by the state, and she advised that all over the state is done different ways, and it's being paid for, in her opinion, by local funds, and which is not required, and that local funding is providing this planning period. And that was the comment basically, and that's the position, is that it is a local funding. It's a good thing to do, no question about that, but I don't believe that the statute necessarily mandates that it be done that way. So they, at least I know that's another person's opinion, but that is what the State Department has advised as of today. And they've got a lot going on, but did take my call to answer that particular question. So basically, their observation is that throughout the state, they're not following a mandated state-required 45 minutes per day, and the board can do it if they so choose.
Okay, thank you. We're time for a motion. Ms. Priest.
Move to approve revisions to Caddo Parish School Board Policy GCA, Professional Staff Positions, School Staffing Formula, to include a planning period shall be for 90 minutes every other day on the days of the week, and on the days of the week where there are only 2 90-minute planning periods, The administration will allow a minimum of 15 minutes of planning time per day with no less than 225 minutes of planning per week.
Second.
Mr. Ramsey, when am I supposed to get my personal privilege?
After Mr. Hooks, and then he's on the board before you.
For personal privilege? Mine's a point of personal.
Okay, go, that's right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, that's okay. All's good. I'm going to ask the board to please apply the golden rule to here at the board as we do in our life. To please not call for the question until all board members, this is the only motion that we have on the table, or the only item we have on the agenda, and we're very passionate about it. This is the most important vote we will take, as even more important than choosing a superintendent, because this will set our philosophy. And I would hope for education. So I hope that we will give every board member the courtesy of fighting for their philosophy and not limit us on time or interrupt us while we're speaking. And I do want to thank all the employees who spoke last week and this week and today, And I want to say that I know that all of you, no matter what this board or staff puts upon you, you are always going to do the best job you can do. We may restrict you on your abilities to do the best job, a good job, but I know you will, and I don't want anybody to turn in a resignation. Please, we will figure it out. You have my phone number, you have board members' phone numbers. We will figure this out no matter what happens, so it works for you to help you do a good job. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Ramsey, I'm sorry.
Ms. Priest, your motion.
The attorney just reminded me that in my motion, I did not specify the modified block and the elementary.
Would you restate your motion?
Okay. Move to approve revisions to Caddo Parish School Board Policy GCA as recommended by staff. Modified block configuration. Positions reduced 69, classes taught 7. Cost savings $4.8 million. Planning period 90 minutes every day. Lunch 30 minutes. Elementary school configuration K through 1 rounded. Positions reduced 29, cost savings $2 million. Grades 4 through 5, 26 to 1. Positions reduced 9, cost savings $0.6 million. Currently included in the 2013-14 proposed budget, and to include a planning period for 90 minutes every other day. And on the days of the week where there are only 2 90-minute planning periods, the administration will allow at a minimum 15 minutes of planning time per day with no less than 225 minutes of planning per week. And no layoffs.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Priest.
No, sir. I think I spelled it out. Well, I guess I can say something. I think this is a motion that's going to give our students the modified block. As stated, it's about, we have 9 through 12, we have 7 through 12 configuration. This is not a motion where you will have layoffs of any employee. No employees being laid off. And I think it's one of those things, no one's going to actually be 100% happy with any and everything that's done. But look at what's happening in Chicago just the other day. So, with the school district. And we are trying to hold this district together. And that's one of the things, as long as we're not doing layoffs. Thank you.
Ms. Bell, you had the second?
Yes, I did. As I stated the other day, I'm for keeping trying to save money. Some years ago, we had the money. We do not have the money because of the state and everything. And to save money is the thing that I'm for. And as one of the principals said, he would rather see more bodies on the campus to do what they need to do. And to the modified block 69, okay, but they going somewhere else. That's one thing. And I'm tired of everybody getting out of line and it's going to be a layoff. If we need to deal with some people that work at Shopper the other day when they found out in 30 minutes they weren't going to have a job, never got to do it. What I'm saying, to save whatever we can save, 4.8 million, then 2 million, let's go for it. And it was said, you 30-minute lunch break, they going to work. And I believe these principals going to work where you will have some time on that day. Also, I would like, later on, and I like to ask, I am tired. I am tired of coming up here every year with the same argument. I would like, and if you can, Mr. Ramsey, to start getting together with a committee that we look at what is best. Now, people don't care if you're losing money. We need to look at what is best for this system next year, pull a committee together. If it's blocked, modified, 7 days, we need to work together and do it, and let's just do it. Then come back next year with the same thing. We need to put something in place, a policy in place, because I'm tired. Right now, I'm about more teachers having places, the state, those principals want those teachers. I want them there. I'm about saving money right now. And I do think we're going to trust our principals, and we have to, that they will find some way to have something off during that off season, that off day. They would have a little more time to do what they need to do. Thank you.
Mr. Hooks.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. Not only is it about the children, it's also about the teachers. Because if a teacher does not have a planning period, it's going to burn that teacher out. Trust me, I was a principal and I know. And I want to know which is important. Your bell ringing and classes changing, or your children in the classroom getting proper instruction. Which one is important? I think being in that classroom, in the first place, those 7th and 8th graders never should have been on your campus.
Ms. Crawford.
I have a substitute motion
Okay.
that we approve that we continue with our current staffing formula and AB block, and that we enter into an intensive budget program meetings, that you assign either a committee or a budget program in which we look for other places to cut more than $4.8 million.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Crawford.
All right. I think we've even heard principals testify today that the AB block is what is best for the students. And they wanted to say, and they did attribute that to being able to have 32 classes. But what you're not looking at is, the teachers also have 90-minute planning time too. Perhaps it was not only that our cohort graduation's up because the kids could take more classes, but it might be because the teachers are planning, discussing student progress, doing the behavior interventions better. It may be that extra 90 minutes, that 90 minutes that is consistent every day, as well as those extra 8 classes. I can tell you, if you look at the little sheet of paper that I put at your desk, well, Dr. Robinson did, it has 50 positions in it that we could cut, and that would save us $3,500,000. These are people who do not give grades. This will not increase anyone's classroom size. Are these positions that we enjoy having? Yes, ma'am. We like all of these folks. But that's already $3.5 million. All we were talking about cutting here is 4.8. We're getting awfully close there. Then we have 100,000 from travel, cafeteria 60,000, transportation, I know we can cut some there. Clerical pool, we can cut there. We do not need to cut the classes. We're supposed to, this is kind of separating the wheat from the chaff. Who believes in teaching students and who's looking at a budget first? We should be looking at how to teach the students. I talked with a 5th grade principal, a principal today. She said her 5th grade class, it's not regularly scheduled, the teacher-pupil ratio, for more than 28, but they bring in special ed, and so she has 33 students in her 5th grade class. It's all a matter, if you already have 33 students in a class, how can we increase the teacher-pupil ratio? We already have them. And I spoke with her just today. And I'll tell you, they're saying, I know I heard this, that none of the principals objected to the modified block schedule. Well, there is a philosophy, and I was given it when I went to counseling on how to be a principal in Caddo Parish. And I was told, do not start thinking this is the right thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do. This is what's best, this is not good. You are to be an administrator in Caddo. You are to do as you are told. Don't give us feedback. I went to a guy, I really did, because I wasn't getting an administrative job. And he looked at me, he said, I'll keep a
Let's
file.
probably get back on point.
I'm on point.
We're talking about your job,
excuse
okay?
me, I am talking something else. All right, but okay, I'm talking about why we didn't get bad feedback from the principals on this. My question is, did the principals stand up and applaud for the AB block schedule when it was given to you? And they didn't say anything, probably because they were in shock that we would do this, that our school system has such a bad philosophy that we will cut classes and change schedules in May. I would also want to make a motion very soon, but not now, that we start scheduling, we set the schedule for the next year in February, not in May. So to me, it is out of the question. We should not even be considering a schedule in May. So that's why I say keep everything as it is. And we can find $4.8 million. In fact, I thought it was more than that. And so I'm glad that this is right up here so I can read it. I know we can get $4.8 million and more because the state's going to give us back some money. They're going to give us back maybe $10 million. But we're not going to spend that. We're going to find $4.8 million somewhere else right now. Thank you.
Mr. Rochelle, will you go second?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. There's a comment I've used, and it's been used on me. It says, lack of planning on my part does not make it a sense of urgency on somebody else's part to get something done. And I kind of feel a little bit that way here. I want to go back, and I hope that, I don't see Jim here. Is Mr. Lee here? He's not. Oh, that's correct. I forgot. Okay. Looking at the May 14th, the budget work session, we had there we revised our 2012-2013 budget that we were going to have $10,275,000 in our ending undesignated balance. And we're starting on our 13-14 budget. And after all the adjustments and everything, it looks like, according to what's been provided us, that we're actually going to start with $21.5 million. Is that correct?
What are you looking at? David Kennedy.
Is there a way you can put this up on the screen? Can somebody turn that off? I don't want to leave anybody in the car. That's okay. The page that he's fixing to put up on the screen shows the page that we received back on May 14th. And it shows, okay, there we go. See, do you see the one that's circled? Okay, our revised budget, okay, from 2012, 2013 was our ending designated balance was $10,275,000. Okay, as we've gone through this budget process, we're actually going to say that ending undesignated balance is actually going to be 21.5 because that's what we're using for our starting for 13-14, correct? So we've actually had a $10 million positive variance in what we thought for this past year, correct? I may be using the wrong word here, but I'm looking at what our revised and then what we're actually going to be starting with.
No, sir. The 21.5 is what we're estimating the ending balance will be.
Now, it says balance of the beginning year, 21.5. It says balance beginning of the year.
That's right.
Okay.
The $10 million ending balance is the budgeted ending balance, which is your legal appropriation to spend funds.
Okay, but we're really going to end up with 21.5, even though.
We hope. That's our estimate.
Okay, so we're really, y'all didn't just pick that number out of the sky, did you? The 21.5?
No, sir.
Okay, so you feel pretty confident that where we thought we were going to have 10.2 million, we're really going to be at 21.5?
That's our estimate.
Okay. But you feel pretty comfortable that it's going to be about right, because we do pretty conservative budgets, right?
We have, before been very fortunate to come in, under the estimate.
Okay, all right. Do you think our track record, do you see us changing that any at all? Do you think we're going to kind of continue the same conservative part?
It's hard to tell.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I know Mr. Lee's not here. Mr. Lee did state specifically at the last board meeting that we've always been conservative, and he plans on continuing us being conservative, which we need to be, okay? I perfectly agree with that. So, I think in looking at what we're looking at our revised 2013-2014 budget, we're probably conservative there. There's probably going to be some dollars left over because we are conservative, okay? I just want the public, we need to look at this, okay? I want y'all to see that there is a $10 million positive change in what our original budget was that got revised for 2012-13 to what it actually is going to end up with for what we believe it's going to be. Okay, that's that intro. Let's just leave that up there. Okay. I've had a ton of phone calls. Okay. I've had a ton of emails. I have taken and I truly appreciate being contacted. Okay, I do. Everybody that ever contacts me, I'll let them know that I appreciate it. Because if I don't hear anything, I'm going to be like most people, and I'm going to just go right on along thinking that everything is fine unless I hear otherwise. I have had the parents and teachers, for the most part, parents in particular, say, we want AB block. We want AB block. No change in that. We had a principal here today state specifically that he believes, without a shadow of doubt, that the AB block is the reason why we're showing the improvements that we're having. And so I think we need to keep that in mind. Now we're going to ask the same teachers that are saying that the AB block is the reason why this is happening, but we're going to make changes to them that I think are going to have a negative impact on the students. So, I'm going to have to agree with Ms. Crawley here. I actually had a substitute motion myself, but I'm going to play this one out and see how it goes. Planning, okay? Well, if y'all can keep that one readily available, but can you put the other slide back up there that says planning period? I think that's almost an oxymoron when you read it. I don't think, and this is a specific question, is when it says planning, it doesn't say planning, period, that's all you're going to do, okay? I want to know what the directors and what the principals expect out of the teachers to do during a planning period. I don't mean planning only period, is what do they do? Is there anybody, a high school director here that can tell me what this is expected in that time frame? Because I don't think it's just a planning period.
Grade level meetings.
What about principals? Ms. Alexander, Ms. Roberts.
Parent phone calls. Director, Dr. McCall. Get a director.
I'm asking.
Order, Mr. President. Yes, sir.
We're supposed to be discussing Ms. Crawley's motion of keeping the AB block like it is. We're not discussing planning periods this time.
Uphold your point of order. That is correct.
And hang on,
This should be it's not a work session, and you're correct. We need to be talking.
hang on a second. Then I have a point of order also, okay? Is we are discussing, and it's under discussion, and part of the discussion of the AB block is a planning period that's part of the AB block. We can't separate a planning time away from the AB block. It's all the same. Don't tell me that the planning period or the planning time is not part of the AB block.
Mr. Rochelle, I understand that, and I can show you 3 or 4 different very detailed documents and emails and documents that were placed on our desk detailing the planning period. I think the agenda or the motion has to do with, are we going to support the line item at the top? That is an option. There's three options. There's one motion, there's a substitute motion that's being discussed now.
Okay, I will rephrase.
This one on top. And then the other motion is dealing with the one that the staff has recommended.
Okay, thank you. I'll redirect this as a question. I'd like a director to please tell me why they need to have the time. I'll just rephrase it that way.
One of our high school principals, Mr. Edwards, Mr. Alexander, Mr. Roberts, Dr.
Hold on.
I've turned it over. It's a question that's actually, it's to the superintendent. If he wants to respond, it's your call.
I'm going to have a principal respond.
That's absolutely fine with me.
To answer your question, Mr. Rochelle, if you'll look at our schedule, this is a copy of our master schedule. And when you look at this on the current AB schedule, we're probably the only school, one of the few schools that actually coordinates our master schedule in this manner. We have an AB schedule. A days are for content planning, B days are for team planning. We're set up on an academy basis. So anybody who thinks that I don't support planning periods doesn't really know what they're talking about. When you look at the proposed schedule for next year, we've still incorporated both team planning on B days as well as EOC plans for those teachers who have EOC courses. In a planning period, there's a lot of activity that goes on. There are, well, obviously for us on the B day, team meetings, grade level team meetings. Each of our grade levels are split into a blue and orange team. Analysis of student performance is done on a weekly basis. If we have 2 B days in a week, one of those B days is spent with that team plan. If there's 3 days in a week, then one of those 3 is spent in the team plan. On the A day, as it is currently, it's all dedicated to content plan. Our teachers are arranged with a content partner where they're able to plan effectively with one another for their classes. We were charged with reducing the budget, looking at ways to alleviate some of the financial issues, and therefore we proposed the increased electives. When you start looking at trying to develop a master schedule without electives, it doesn't work. Students have to have electives to fill schedules. So unless you want to have students just sitting on your campus somewhere idly with no class to go to, you have to have electives. So that's imperative. But within the actual planning period, definitely content planning, team planning, analysis of student progress, benchmark assessments, some of the things that we've done as a school to try to alleviate some of the workload on our teachers.
I hate to interrupt you. So do you expect them to grade any?
Well, I was actually getting to that.
Okay.
We utilize a program called All-In Learning. I believe we're the only high school in the parish that uses it. We've actually used our site-based funds to purchase that. My teachers grade all papers with iDevices. That's a software program that allows us to go through with an iPhone or an iPad, and as fast as we can click a picture, we have the instant grade from that student item analysis. We can compare class to class, block to block, and teacher to teacher. It's an immediate feedback. My teachers don't spend time or going through stacks of papers grading. They simply go through and then analyze the data instantly and then use that to make data-driven decisions on changing their instructional format. So I can't speak to any other school, but that's how we do it. So,
Mr. Murray? Okay, audience, this board is trying to hear the feedback. This is a board meeting, and we are trying to make a very important decision. So our expectations is that all this background noise stop. Mr. Murray, if it continues, whoever it is, please escort them out.
So we've tried to alleviate some of the time taken up in grading papers by utilizing All-In Learning. It is, I think, and we have teachers here that I believe will attest to the fact of its effectiveness. It's not just for multiple choice questions. You can actually grade constructive response with it as well. That's a great program, and it has alleviated a lot of the workload for our teachers. However, our teachers still have on our AB block as it is, most of my teachers have anywhere from 150 to 180 students each.
Okay, I'm not going to go down that path right now because hearing this for the first time of what you're using there, we're going to come back and discuss that at another time. All right, so what else is expected, during that? Do they have to, and I don't want to put any words in your mouth, okay? I want to know what you expect them to do in that block of time.
Again, meet with their team members on the B-Day schedule for our sake, analyze our students on a weekly basis, determine where their grades are from week to week, what their progress is, and then also plan within their content periods to develop lessons with their partner teacher.
Okay, have you ever told one of the teachers at any point in time, and I have no idea, by the way, I'm going to ask him this question, let me rephrase this. Do you ever expect them to make phone calls to like parents or anything like that?
My teachers make phone calls.
Okay, so in other words, that's another thing that's expected during that time frame.
Before school, after school, during planning.
Okay.
We have teachers who give up planning periods voluntarily to do EOC remediation, to do tutoring before school, after school. Our teachers, this is not just our job. This is who we are, this is what we do.
Okay, so not to put words in your mouth, and I want to make sure that I understood what you said, is that you believe it would be better to have that time the way we've had it, as we currently have it, correct?
I think if you're talking about a perfect world, money aside.
Don't put words in my mouth now. Do you think it would be better for us to just stay the way we are?
I think the way we are currently is effective in student achievement. However, I don't think it's effective budgetary-wise.
Good answer. That's a fine answer. Okay. Do you think that this could have a negative impact on our students?
I think it'll have the impact that the teachers allow it to have. We're constantly asked from the State Department to do more with less, and sometimes we just quite frankly have to suck it up and do it.
Okay. Those are very good answers, by the way. I'd hire you. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I just.
Mr. Rao?
I'm not done yet. I have another page and a half here to go. We're making staffing formulas, and as the other board members are alluded to, this is all budget oriented, and I think that we need to realize that there are going to be changes from what I've heard both from this board and from the administration in how we handle our budget from this point forward, especially in particular to our health benefits and the contribution that I think that there's another...
President Ramsey, I've got to raise another point of order. This is totally off the subject.
Mr. Rochelle, let's stay on the motion, and we'll have those discussions another day.
Okay. I'll rethink that one. I'll get that into another question. I do not believe that everything has been done that can be done to have an impact on our budget to be able to stop this from happening. I don't believe that. I don't believe it. Hang on. And basically, if somebody does believe that, then we don't need to have any more budget meetings at all after this, because obviously we've done all that we can do, and we think this is the only way that we can do it. Okay. This is, I guess, to the superintendent or whoever he may decide, is what do we see as far as next year's budget? What are we planning on?
Point of order.
Mr. Rochelle, we're going to talk to the motion, or we're going to go to the next speaker.
Okay, I'll figure that one out in just a minute too. Well, this is just a comment, I don't think we're giving our teachers nearly enough time to try to plan and prepare for this. I think that we can figure this out and give them time to make any adjustments that they need, and we can still deal with the budget after the fact. I think that we can do that. Some of these are just general comments. The requirements and mandates that we must deal with from the state, I sincerely believe will have a negative impact on our children's education. That's obvious. Our school and district scores, I believe, are fixing to be negatively impacted by the choices we're fixing to make here today. either negatively or positively. It all depends on which direction we go. If we move in a direction that it impacts it negatively, the Department of Education will, the Louisiana Department of Education, the Superintendent John White and Bobby Jindal will continue. This is discussion, and I can say, hang on a second.
Okay, no,
I'm being interrupted. Okay.
complete your statement,
There,
please.
yeah, I think we're going to make it easier for them to come in here because this is going to have a negative impact, and we're just opening the door a little bit more. I also believe that this community as a whole voted in support of this board. They voted and they said, guys, we trust you and we're going to stand next to you to do the right thing and make sure that we keep our schools. They voted and approved some tax renewals. They said, we trust you.
Mr. Rochelle.
Okay? This is.
No, sir, it is not. Now, if you have something pertinent to the motion, then make your statement, or else we're going to go to the next speaker.
This question for the superintendent. Dr. Dawkins, do you think that the voters actually showed us evidence that they supported us?
Mr. Riles, you're next.
Thank you, President Ramsey. I have, it's very aware that the staff recommendation in the beginning was for the modified block. Couple of questions. One of our high schools told me, North Cattle to be specific, that I went over and they had 22 regular ed teachers, and they were told that they would have to remove 11 regular ed teachers. That would cut them down to 11. We haven't voted on anything yet. Why were those, and I don't think these people would tell me something false, why were they given that information since we haven't voted on anything, that they would have to lose 11 teachers?
That's the way staff works. I can't answer why they said that. We never told them that. We know that the board has to take action. However, we have discussed with them implications for the different models of schedule. They know what they have, and they know what ballpark what they could possibly not have. That's all I know. We haven't discussed anything specific.
Okay, I've got a small high school up in the northern part of the parish. Kids come from the Arkansas line, Texas line. We got to keep that school open because you can't send kids 35 miles to a school. But if you take them, they have an average of about 80 kids per class in the four grades, 9 through 12. If you cut them down to 11 core teachers, how are they going to teach the necessary classes they need to teach?
Part of the deliberation has to do with the size, different sizes of our schools. We have very large schools and very small schools. And for example, there's some people who think that these will be equal cuts, 10 for 10 for 10, but that's not the case because everyone has a different configuration. So we understand clearly that everyone has to be equitable in this situation. And so we don't, it's a challenge to do all of this. And so we'll work through it and see what we can come up with. Principals are working on it. It is not an easy task.
In other words, if we do approve the modified block, then they will get it, even though it may not be the correct staffing formula, they will get enough teachers to handle all their classes?
Our goal is you have to have core classes, you have to have a full complement of classes. There'll be fewer than they had before, but you have to have that.
They're going to lose 11. That's all. That's all the questions I have. Thank you, Mr. Ramsey.
Mary Trammell.
Okay, Mr. President, I've heard a lot, but what I'm trying to see, if we go with the AB block, and I'm just saying, if we go with the AB block, leave the formulas out for the ratio, the configurations that we have for the scheduling for elementary ed, what would be our next step to make sure that we end with a balanced budget, will we have to go into employees per se to get where we need to go? Or since we don't have a long-range plan, and I really listened to the person with it. Yeah, well, it's about,
Are you asking?
where do we go?
Hold on, we're not gonna talk. Okay?
I mean, yeah, you've talked a long time, so go right ahead, so.
But, hey,
It's okay. Help me with this. Where do we go next as the budget to make a balanced budget? If we come up with a plan that's not, we're still gonna be at the same figure when we get through the bottom line with the dollar, right? We're gonna still be in the red, right?
yeah, if you're asking me that we started off with this baseline budget. with-
Excuse me, Mr. President,
This is dealing with the agenda, the motion on the floor.
And I know he did.
You were asking about
the budget, or is this?
She's asking about the AB block.
I'm asking about the AB block with zero here. That's
Yeah,
what it says.
Dr. Dawkins,
It-
Would you repeat your question again?
and that is the motion we're speaking to.
Okay, what I'm trying to understand, we're saying that there is money in the budget that we can continue with the same AB block, right? Maybe I misunderstood, I'm just trying to get an understanding. We can continue with it.
Yeah.
Is that what the bottom line is saying? We can continue with what we already have?
But you can continue with that, but with the make up the difference in the money someplace else.
Well, that's the question that I'm asking. What will we do to make the difference? What would be the next step?
Well, if we maintain AB block, then we'll go back into the budget and make some other cuts. And whether they're here at the central office or someplace else, we'll bring them back to you as well. But understand that they have to come from someplace unless the board decides they're not going to take any cuts at all. And I don't know how it's possible to take not any cuts, but we'll certainly bring something back, and you'll have a chance to discuss that as well.
All right, I'm understanding and listening to everyone that's been the speakers and the people around the horseshoe, the board members that are talking. The question is that every day there should be a planning period, right? And with the scheduling, the way that it's set up, and I don't know if we can ask questions of the principals that are in this is the only configuration that we could come up with, that it has to be 90 minutes and save the AB block, or is there any other configuration?
That's the modified version of the AB block, and that's probably the most efficient to give them as many opportunities kids need for extra classes, and to try to keep as many staff members as we can, as many classes as we can.
Okay, well, it seemed to be certain that we can't please everybody. That's the first thing. In order to come to a medium in the road, we need to come up with something that's going to work for every day there's a planning period. And that the kids can have the extra courses that they want to move to the next level. And I've seen some kids, and we boast about these children graduating with X amount of number of extra credits to prepare for college. And as we make these kind of changes, we have to think of something that can work, because I think the gentleman asked earlier, he doesn't know all of our background. Well, I've never worked in the classroom, but I've been in education all my life. So I know that there's a need for a period just to collect yourself. And I know that that's one of the things that's being asked. So is there anything else that we can look at?
Well, we'll certainly look at anything we can, but this is the closest to getting you close to what you have now.
Okay.
There are other things you can do and probably take you a little bit farther away from that. But this modified gives you kind of a middle ground. So there are a lot of things there are a lot of other things I guess you could look at, but it takes you farther away from that.
Okay, all right.
Okay, now, board members, I've allowed this to turn into a work session. And because this is an important subject, but the mission of the day, the work session we've had, and a lot of these have been good questions, and a lot of them have been redundant. And I continue to ask those questions to myself time and time again. But we're going to have to move again toward addressing emotions on the floor. We've gone through a ton of work sessions, and work sessions are where you ask the questions to get the answers. We're going way beyond the call of duty on a section where we're supposed to be making a decision on the agenda items. So I'm going to ask you, let's move toward that objective, and let's do what we're supposed to do now. Ms. Green.
With Ms. Crowley's motion, reminds me of one word, and that is consistency. We just, before we went into this AB block, I think we did another schedule before this, didn't we? 7-period day, and then we went into AB block. I mean, I think this is too much moving, too much going around and round and round. We need to stick with one thing. I think, and I'm sure next year we'll probably go back, if we did modified block this year, we'll probably go back to AB block if we found more money or something of that nature. So I believe we should stick with this, be consistent and stick with the AB block.
Mr. Hooks?
I was on to speak for the first motion.
Even though Ms. Crowley wasn't supposed to answer, she did answer correctly. We need to speak to the motion that's on the floor.
But no, I'm saying, can I get back on the board for the first motion? If we get back to that?
Yeah, you'll be able to get back and talk on it when it.
Will I be first?
Well, no, you're first right now on this motion, then it just keeps rolling.
You mean I waited this long? I guess since I'm on them, I'll talk. Now, this right here, does her motion affect this sheet? Okay, Dr. Dawkins, may I ask, what is the teacher ratio for fourth graders?
Dr. Robinson, 25 to 1 is stated here.
25 to 1?
Yeah. 4 to 5.
I just want to make sure.
It's 25 to 1.
Okay, don't leave. Don't leave. I'm asking this for a reason. What's your ratio, teacher-pupil ratio for 8th graders?
25 to 1.
Also for 10th graders?
Depends on 9th through 12. It depends on the size of the school.
Okay, now the reason I asked those particular grades, we have to be conscientious. Those are the crucial grades where testing takes place. And we need to be mindful as to how many, students we put into those classrooms. Now, the principal said that his children, he was for it because his children gained. Yeah, you can gain with 620 students as opposed to Fair Park's 1,134, Huntington's 1,084, Woodlawn 1,080. You can gain. Okay, now Southwood, you don't have 7th and 8th graders. You don't have 7th and 8th graders. But his enrollment is 1,254 with just 7th and 8th graders. I can see him. I can see both of them wanting what they want. But what you got to do, you got to look at the numbers. 620 is far less than 1,134, which is Fair Park. I can talk about Fair Park, that's my school. So, my deal is, yes, your students will persevere with the 7, see, you have 7 and 8 graders on your campus. You go all the way from 7 to 12, but you don't have a 620 student. We go all the way from 7 to 12 at Fair Park with 1,134 students. So, my point is, I can see where you're coming from, and I can see where the Southwood principal is coming from. But it's not helping our situation where the 7 and 8 graders are on those campuses with the high school. It's not helping our situation. It's not helping Woodlawn's situation. It's not helping Huntington's situation. So that's what I'm talking about. We need to be mindful when we say stuff, because you're not talking to an average Joe Blow. I was the principal too, so I know what the deal is. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Crawley?
Just in case, I want to say, I've been hearing some questions, and I want to say that this would keep things the way they are. I think that when we went through the budget session, the reason this came up was because it is the easiest to cut at the school site. There's your hunk of people. It's easy to cut. We can easily find $4.8 million by not do this. It will not be as difficult. And I believe the state is going to give us back more than that. But I think that will just help us. That's not what I want to do, and that's not in my motion to wait on the state. I still want us to go ahead and find the 4.8. My motion said that. And the state money given back will help move us toward a balanced budget. And so I just think that everybody has testified that the AB block, what we're doing now, is best for the education of our students. And that's the only question that we should be asking. What is best for the education of our students? And everything else is on the chopping block. Thank you.
Ms. Bell?
Okay. I need to ask some questions too. Questions. It's on. They can hear me. Dr. Dawkins, if we stay with the block, AB block, with no cost saving, I want everybody to hear this. That means we will go back and find that money we need and something else in the budget, right?
Yes, something else has to go.
Okay, now, we also, everybody's complaining about the $200 that the teachers get for supplies.
Ms. Bell?
These are, this about the budget, this about the.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am. It's
Okay.
about the
Okay, let me
AB
get back to-
block
okay, now.
versus...
All right,
Yeah.
okay. Now, with the, if we go to the AB block, if we not do anything with it, okay, that means the 90 minutes a day plus 30 minutes will go on as usual, right?
Correct.
Okay, I'm asking about it, I'm staying with it. The modified block is only so we can save some positions, right? Dr. Dawkins? We're trying to save some positions.
We will save some positions.
Okay, all
Some
right.
people will be displaced.
Okay, now people can talk, you can talk for somebody else, and they hear it, okay? And that's 4.8 million, which we're going to give 90 minutes every day, every other day. And I'd like to, there's a question, is it possible, Dr. Dawkins, on that day, that 30 minutes only for lunch, that we can look into adding, this is a question, at least give them the 45 minutes by adding like 22 minutes to those 30 minutes? Is it possible? I mean, once you look, can it be possible?
We'll look at it.
You'll look
I guess
at it,
anything
okay,
is
we'll just
possible.
give them 45 minutes, okay? All right. The 7-period day in which your positions are reduced, that's 83 people, 5.8 million. Now, I also receive emails, parents calling, and I answer. Some parents are concerned about us with the AB block, and they say they don't care if they modify, as long as their students get the AB block modified. They want that done. I get letters like that. I'll get everybody, and also Mr. Rams, a question. Everybody is a question that teachers in high school is not against, or they all against this. We don't know. But didn't we ask to do a survey of the principals, teachers, and all? And we received 1,500 today. I mean, I think, no, 1,500. Some have hundreds, because it blew up my computer. And most of them said, all they want to do, and go back and read it. Some of them said they wanted the block longest. Some of them even said to keep a job. But we knew all the time we wouldn't lay them off. Okay. All I'm asking, is it possible, Dr. Dawkins and Mr. Ramsey, that we can do the modified this year until we go in some meetings and find out what's best? Also, we may get some money, but that money may be taken away with the legislature year after next if we get it. Because they mad anyway. If everybody voting against it, MLP, they may give it now, but they may take it back.
Ms.
So
Bell, you're getting off
what I'm
track.
saying, if we're going to do this, whatever we do, somebody going to be mad because we need to go somewhere else to get this money. Y'all better understand this. We need somewhere else. So I'm just saying to you, Dr. Dawkins, and the board, if it does not come from the block at AB, you better get ready, because if it hits somebody else, we have
Okay, hold on. There's visiting over here, Mr. Ryan, and members from the audience. Okay? No,
I'm sorry, Mr. Ramsey.
let's keep this thing going now, okay?
What I'm saying to you, and I'm making it a question, regardless of, we will take the money must be taken from something else in the budget. Nobody's going to be happy. Nobody. So what I'm saying to you, either we do it this way, which is best, and just sacrifice, you're doing a good teacher, you're going to sacrifice a little anyway. But I'm trying to say, let's vote for this modified block until to do this year, until we think somebody gonna send us $1 billion or something, or decide among some of these teachers, principals all work together and try to come up with the schedule best for the system. But we need this because we're gonna be hit somewhere else, and everybody's gonna be feeling
Thank you, Ms. Bell.
Yes, sir, I'm through.
Mr. Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple of things that disturbed me. First thing is that from day one, when we started talking about the budget, we started talking about the cost of AB block. Day one, I mean, the very beginning. And now we're acting like this is the first time we've discussed it. And that kind of disturbs me. Let me ask a question. I know I'm not supposed to make a statement. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. What does AB block cost us?
AB block costs about $9 million.
Okay. That means that if we go back to AB block, in order to balance the budget that everybody around this horseshoe has said to staff we must do, we got to find $9 million from somewhere that's going to hurt somebody else now. I have a list here of some other people that's going to be sitting out there where you all are as soon as we start talking about whether or not we're going to cut them or not. You know, I think, and you know, I'll try to hold my comments. It saddens me. I'm a teacher, it's 36 years. And it saddens me for teachers to say what they're not going to be able to do. You know, I taught biology and physics. I've had numbers of kids in my class. I coached football at the same time, meaning I didn't get home till late. Coach Lee Hedges had 6 math classes, 5 math classes. Didn't have a planning, had 1 planning period. Didn't have a coaches period. I mean, so all of us have worked and have gone beyond the call of duty to do what we needed to do. It saddens me for a teacher to say, well, I'm not going to be able to run and do this, and I'm not going to be able to run and do that. You know, as a teacher, that's who I am, and I would suppose and hope that that's really who you are. You know, it's not what you do, you know, because, you know, it's who you are. And so I'm going to support the modified block because I realize what we have to do in terms of this budget. And I realize that that's the best alternative for right now for the children, and I'm hoping that teachers, if it passes, that teachers will support it and keep moving and take care of these children. I know you don't want to, I guess we have to go back to day one, I mean, the drawing board if we don't pass it, and try to find $9 million someplace else that everybody here seems to think, well, several of us seems to think that that's no problem. But we've had 4 or 5 budget meetings and nobody's been able to find it. And so that means that in order to find it, that some people are going to have to lose jobs. And that's what this was all about, to try and maintain as many positions as we could, and then yet try to balance this budget and make it look good. Nobody wants to lose folks. Nobody wants folk to work overtime or not to have a planning period. I support AB Block the way it is now. I supported it when Southwood had 4 before years ago because it provides students with extra courses, you know. But now you have to do what you have to do, you know. So just wanted to say that, Mr. President. Appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Rochelle.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Excuse me.
There was, actually this question would have been used for the other time. The going to the remaining where we are versus going to the modified, do we have like a real count of what the impact is per school? Like how many students would be impacted at Huntington and Byrd, and do we know what the exact number, what kind of number we're expected that teachers would be decreased?
I don't have it in front of me. You mean in terms of class size?
No, not the class size, but of how many teachers we would actually end up having there versus what we have currently.
Well, we have some scenarios. I don't have it in front of me.
Superintendent.
Ms. Bell.
You said students first.
Dr. Robinson has some.
Superintendent and members of the board, the staffing administrators for both the Pure Middle Schools, excuse me, your mic. I'm sorry, thank you. We do have that information. The staffing administrators are present, and I'm going to ask them to come at this time with the numbers. They have them by schools.
Okay.
Mr. Kennedy?
Okay, now, are we talking about the AB block or the modified block? Because the motion is AB block, right?
We have that information.
That's correct. I just want to see what we have with the AB block, is what I want to see.
This is Mr. Kennedy. He staffs the Pure Middle and the high schools.
These are scenarios.
Is that on a piece of paper you can put down there on that little?
And since we violated every other rule, just go ahead and give them the modified AB block while you're up there.
You're asking compared to the number of teachers they have now, what it would be under the proposed, correct?
Only if he allows you to answer that. Okay.
All right. For Byrd, they would go from 100 teachers to 92 teachers. For Cattle Magnet, they would go from 59 to 54. From Captain Shreve, they would go from 60 to 56. North Caddo would go from 22 to 17. Northwood would go from 48.
Is that on a piece of paper that you can put on the projector?
It is. It's got notes all over it.
Okay, because you're going to have to slow down a little bit.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to write.
I certainly will. Yes, sir.
I can write it down. Nobody, I think Mr. Hooks and I are the only ones that can write it down.
You know,
All right, I'll start over from Byrd. Byrd currently has 100. They would go to 92. Cattle Magnet, 59 currently, would go to 54. Captain Shreve currently has 60. They would go to 56. 56? Yes. North Caddo currently has 22. They would go to 17. Northwood has 48. They would go to 45. Southwood has 61. They would go to 57. Fair Park has 44. 44. They would go to 38. Green Oaks has 30. They would go to 23. Huntington, 38. They would go to 35. BTW has 33.
How many?
33. They would go to 25. Woodlawn has 39. And they would go to 34.
I mean, you say for Southwood?
Southwood is at 61. They would go to 57.
okay, now we're going to get back on the AB block.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, the other question I had really is it goes back to the presentation that was given earlier. Now, I'll tell you what, I can word this one in, is Mr. Roberts had mentioned that under the AB block, that we currently, the AB block, that we end up with about how many minutes? Was it around 8,000 minutes?
I believe it was 8,100.
I'm going to need some clarification on this, okay? Can Mr. Roberts, since he was...
Mr. Roberts.
You may be getting practice to be an administrator, okay? Maybe here, okay. Okay. All right, in the AB block, okay, whether or not it's this one or the modified, there's how many minutes per that you use? It was 8,100, and you said we could cut it back. What is it?
I'd have to go back and look at the exact required number of minutes by the state per course. For Carnegie credit, and then we could look at that. We started sketching out, and because I think your question is going to how do we carve those minutes out of that day?
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is something that we just started looking at. The teachers that I forced to give up planning periods. We started looking at potential ways of including 45 minutes within the that day. And if you could see this slide again. I don't know what it would do for our schedule, our master schedule, because I didn't have time to really sit down and look at this. But if you notice here, where we have electives combined, we've taken basically content planning periods and we have turned those into electives, which, by the way, for us, our teachers are excited to offer new electives that they had a choice in choosing what they would offer, something along their interest lines, so that it would be something more of a treat to them to teach during the day as opposed to the Gestapo telling them exactly what they'll teach. However, if you look at this, there may be a possibility to team teach under the modified format, as long as you're creative enough to link your electives simultaneously within content partners, so that two teachers could team teach 45 and 45 minutes, which still give you 45 minutes of planning period on that day, as opposed to losing the entire 90 minutes. Now, that's just something we looked at back there in the seats and hadn't had the time to really flesh that out yet. It's another option.
Okay. That was it. I'm done. Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Ms. Priest.
Thank you, President. And is this on the substitute motion or the?
I think everything's a game.
Which
You can go for it.
Okay.
We have turned it into a work session.
Okay.
You may as well violate every rule too.
Okay. Well, when we're talking about the modified block, and I believe that when we started out in our budget work sessions, we knew that we had a budget deficit and that there had to be some adjustments in the way that we currently do business. And so we're talking about the modified block. One, we're going to have to do this cost savings. We're going to have to adjust, and we're going to have to do cost savings. No matter what we anticipate from the State Department or whomever, those resources are not necessarily going to be allocated and spent just because you're getting it, because otherwise we're digging ourselves back into a bigger hole. Now, yes, it was also talked about benefits. At some point in time, we're going to deal with that as well, the benefits. But this modified block, it clearly states, and you've already received the position, basically the adjustments, and it ranges between 3 to 8, between 3 to 8 positions in the various schools, in the high schools that would be impacted. I think one of the other things that we're talking about here is that you have a 90 minutes every other day. And under the AB, if you total that up, you have 450 minutes. And what we're talking about under the modified, now there has to be some form of compromise, because no one is going to get everything that they want. No one. You have 6,000 plus employees in this district, and somebody is not going to be happy. Someone's not going to be happy. Some people are getting 450 minutes of a planning period. Well, 225 is what's being proposed as a compromise on the table. We're talking about adjustments. And no matter what, if we go back and we do the block or the AB block, we're talking about, as Mr. Pearson stated, there's going to be some other people sitting right here in this room. And they're going to be talking about how important, don't cut my position, discoveries, reading interventionists, these positions here at all of these various schools. This board, we have to look at the big picture, the entire district, and not specifics as it relates to positions or people who are saying my job is important. Everybody's job is important. And yes, I'm breaking the rule. Everybody's job is important. But our responsibility is to look at Caddo Parish Public School District as a whole. And we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we are not in the red. No, we are not laying off people, but guess what? The shoe is definitely tight, and it's hurting people's feet. And it will continue to do that. But the motion, and we have to do some things, and planning, yes, our principals need to be staffing for their schools. And that is the important deal. Now, because some of you will say, well, I don't know where I'm going, because you'll be here the following week. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where my assignment is. This is a compromise, the modified block, because one, $9 million and you're $21.5 million. You can't nickel and dime $21.5 million. You cannot nickel and dime $21.5 million. And especially when 80-some% of the budget is human capital. So where is it going to come from? It's going to come off of someone. So it's the big picture. It's the full district. Now that's how I look at it. Someone may not be happy with that, but I'm looking at this totally, not about who makes the most noise, but totally what's going to be in the best interest of the Caddo Parish Public School District. And yes, I said it, it's about the children. It is about the children. Thank you.
Ms. Trammell, I'm thinking this is your second time. I'm starting to keep up with him.
I'm sure several have spoken more than one time, but I would like to ask Mr. President, can we now vote on the motion, call for the question?
Yes.
All right, please. I would like to call for the question.
I have a second call for the question. And, on both motions on the floor. Okay? And isn't that odd? Now, Ms. Crawley is for calling for the question. That's great. Please vote. It's call for the question. We're voting for call for the question only.
Yes.
Show the vote. You had already talked 2 times. I wasn't going to let you.
Only on the second motion.
Okay, now vote on Ms. Crawley's first motion. Is the first motion, and she wants to go with the AB block. Her substitute motion, excuse me. The first one, the last motion on the table. And I would ask her to repeat it word for word.
I did write it down. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Continue the current staffing ratio formula and the AB block scheduling as the 2012-2013 school year and enter into an intensive budget process immediately.
Does everyone understand? You want her to repeat it? Okay. Please vote. Show the vote. That motion fails. Now, the next motion is Ms. Priest's motion. Ms. Priest, would you please repeat that?
Move to approve revisions to Caddo Parish School Board Policy GCA as recommended by staff with the modified block. Do you want me to go through all of that again?
No.
Oh, I think you get the gig.
Okay.
Okay?
With the, yes. Mhm.
Planning time provision.
Okay, with the provision, it's all on the sheet, but also giving the administration, that the administration will allow a minimum of 15 minutes of planning time per day with no less than 225 minutes of planning per week and no layoffs.
Thank you, Ms. Priest. Please. Wait a minute, we still have some cockpit problems. Let's,
they asked me not to read all of that. I will read all of that again. He wants me to read everything that I said originally. Okay.
thank you.
Move to approve revisions to Caddo Parish School Board Policy GCA as recommended by staff. With the planning period shall be 90 minutes every day on the days of the week. 90, every other day, that's what I said. Oh, every other day. On the days of the week where there are only 2 90-minute planning periods, administration will allow at a minimum 15 minutes of planning time per day with no less than 225 minutes of planning per week and no layoffs.
Thank you, Ms. Priest, and I congratulate you on completing. We're ready to vote, folks, if y'all can get the board ready. Ready to vote. Please vote now. Still got one. Show the vote. Okay. So this motion fails. So the schedule will remain as it is, Dr. Dawkins, is the way I would say it.
And
Hold on, Mr. Hooks, you do not have the floor.
no, to say, immediately find the money.
Audience. Mr. Murray, are you still in position? Okay. Okay, the motion failed, so we will go on to the next agenda item. There will be an executive session. I need a motion to go into executive.
Move to go to executive session.
May I let Mr. Pearson has the notes that the attorney gave?